Okay, so if we recap last time, it looks like we established that our two power standards are the second grade LS41, where they're going to make observations of plants and animals to compare the diversity of life in different habitats. And the engineering standard that is a banded K2 standard, but they're going to develop a simple sketch, drawing, or physical model to illustrate how the shape of an object helps it function. Yep.
Yes.
And then we have lots of supporting standards, which we said that were pretty easy to fit in, so we can talk about those as we go. It looks like two of them are investigation 2, which we're going to be talking about now, I guess. So looking at planning and conducting an investigation to determine if plants need sunlight and water to grow, so that'll be in our investigation 2. And develop a simple model that mimics the function of an animal in dispersing seeds or pollinating plants, which we talked a lot about. So
yes, we did.
we accomplished our anchor phenomena for the whole unit is going to be what can we do at Prairie Heights to attract other pollinators to our area. And then our first investigation, we were going to focus on the life cycle. Let's see, our phenomena was how is a caterpillar different than a butterfly? But then we were also going to talk about 4-stage life cycles.
Versus 3-stage life cycles.
Yeah, and you were going to get those extra.
Yeah, the crickets or grasshoppers, whichever they happen to have at Petco.
And then, does your kit come with butterfly, ants, bees, and beetles? Or
No,
do you
it
get some of
comes
those?
with butterflies and beetles, and I always order an ant farm because it's a nice contrast because they're a social insect.
Okay, yeah.
Versus, so ants and bees are the social insects. Most of the others are not. So.
And then I think we put bees in there because we were going to tie into that article about Cedar Rapids.
Right.
And then they could just do a reading on the bees.
Yes.
And we determined in investigation 1, cross-cutting concept, patterns between them, structures and functions. And then our science energy practices, we were going to do the asking questions, carrying out the investigation, which tied into that supporting standard, analyzing, interpreting data because we were going to do different readings, and then they were going to start constructing explanations from lab and obtaining information from stories.
Yes.
So, okay, and connections that we came up with. We need to know the life cycle so we can meet the needs of the insects through their whole life cycle in the environment that we create. Yeah.
Yes, which is another reason it's nice to see the ants because they're in an ant farm, so they're creating their environment. Gives the students something to look at.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're on to investigation 2, and looks like we did get a little work done. Looks like we left off with our lesson phenomena is how do insects help plants grow, and we wanted to build in there the life cycle of a plant because we've already talked about the animal, and we can compare and contrast, and how pollinators contribute to the life cycle of plants.
Yes.
Okay, so that's where we left off. So I think we need to just kind of put in some notes of were we going to use this investigation, or were you going to...
We were going to use parts of it.
Yeah, okay.
We always use parts of it.
That's right. So we'll put down what parts we're going to do. We'll pull out those cross-cutting concepts that you want to focus on. We had quite a few in investigation 1, but I feel like those are the ones that are going to carry throughout.
Right.
So.
Yeah, because we do need to review. They begin life cycle of plants in 1st grade. So in 2nd grade, we need to review that and see where we're at.
And is that in here?
Yep.
Yep, okay.
As they of their understanding.
And that they need those 5 basic needs, right?
Yes.
Water, air, nutrients.
And then we move that into how plants,
space.
Without human intervention, how plants continue their life cycle. How are they?
Plants cycle out human intervention. And were you, I think we talked about this last time, but we didn't jot it down. Were we going to stick with all the same insects as before?
Probably simply because of availability of having the insects. But we can always...
Were you going to do them all?
Oh yeah, I do all of those.
Yeah, because I think we talked about because ants and beetles are on the ground, we wanted to focus on them because they're not as common for students.
Right.
And then we were still going to, bees probably pulling that reading again. And then you were going to do the butterflies, right?
There's also a lot of good video footage on bees. There's a reading rainbow on it. We have some local beekeepers that have come in and spoken before, so we'll probably tie those in again as well. And it fits with our social studies at the time because we discuss all of the items that we use bee products in.
Okay, I'll put
Not-
that in. So
yeah.
social studies as the products.
Uh-huh.
We have social studies connection, a community partner. Okay.
I think in other social studies, it's sort of social studies connection because one of the things we're studying at this time is social studies, which is why they tie so nicely, or in social studies is environment, which is why they tie so nicely together. And I'm not, if we do some of the, develop some of the butterfly bombs or the bee bombs,
Oh yeah.
so that the kiddos can actually take these out of the school and participate in that pollination along the countryside.
So really, too, is our overarching phenomena is what we can do here at Heights, but then
Right.
also building it out is it's just not centrally located here.
Right.
And if we read that article on Cedar Rapids with bees, but it's not just here either. It's
Exactly.
at your home in Ely or Fairfax.
Right.
Or,
So,
okay. We could also pull up news footage or articles about how they did that on RackRide. Have some good connectors. So let's get more down to what lesson level things that you want to do to meet that standard of life cycle of plants. We want to probably make sure either at the end of this one or at the beginning of the next one is doing a compare and contrast. Either they pick one insect and compare it to the plant so we can see that they both go through cycles and similar.
Right.
So
I like that very much.
we can add that at the end because I know compare and contrast was one that we had talked about. So
Well, and this one is one that we pretty much follow their lessons simply because it is planting the seed.
that was one that we
Yeah.
okay.
Which you, and then observing and recording the changes in growth. And obviously these don't fall on consecutive days. Which is nice that we're studying environment at the same time because as you wait for them to change in their life cycle, both the insects and the plants, you can tie it all in with the environment.
So for looking through this one, we can kind of see what they're doing so we can see which of our focus. I know in the beginning we had lots of science and engineering practices and cross-cutting concepts, and you do a lot more than we had identified. But which ones we want to make sure we're using the vocabulary for.
Right.
And also maybe we can add to the bottom of their packets or something so that they get used to using them too.
Yes.
But let's see. This is the teacher prep. Okay. Kind of investigation.
Yeah, the first one, as I recall, is they're planting, literally planting the seeds.
So pretty much the main one of this one, since they're planning, is they're carrying out an investigation. So
Yes.
the main, one of the main, there could be more, science and engineering practices that we see is they're not planning it because we're pretty much telling them what to do, but they are carrying it out.
Yes.
Okay.
But they are planting it.
Right.
Not planning, yes.
Yeah. Right. So.
And then they record.
and
They observe and record.
So, we could also say that they are obtaining information.
Yes. Well, and there's a lot of wonderful read-alouds to go along with these things, both fiction and nonfiction.
And with some of your videos too, we can find them now or you can later and we can link them in there so that they're all in.
Oh, I have, yeah,
Let's see.
lots of them.
And then if you look at the wrap up, they're doing the sheet or the drawing and watching their plant over time to see the life cycle. So that the cross-cutting concept of cause and effect, the
Yes.
different changes in what's happening. So that's the big one for that one. They might also notice patterns,
Yes, they might.
but hitting
Particularly
cause and
because they
effect.
have some background in this in first grade.
Yeah.
So they might recognize those patterns.
Okay, so we have our science and engineering practices. Maybe I should have done that one.
See, and I like in the first one, I feel like we're doing something beyond, we're comparing the butterflies and the bees and the beetles. So we've got that comparing and contrasting, and I like that. We had the cause and effect going in the second one. And they're
Right.
planting. So there is the observation there. I guess with the insects, I feel like the observation is constant.
Right.
The plants, it's so slow moving.
This one too, we're doing the cause and effect, but remember we're doing the compare and contrast at the end, a plant
That's
to an
okay.
insect.
Yep.
So other than that, that was pretty good then.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It just, it says lesson 2, but it stretches throughout all the
yeah,
lessons
'cause there's-
because you have to just observe.
And so, in this one, yep, growing it.
Mm-hmm.
We could also obtaining and analyzing and interpreting what's happening to their plants.
Well, we can make some connections too. I like the connecting to it too.
Okay. So, in 2 we covered planting them, observing them, identifying the
life
cycle, comparing, contrasting, and then this part, maybe we want to leave that part for the end
I
when we
think so.
decide we want to.
When we have our butterfly bombs and we're going to do the garden outside. So
leave 2.4 for the end. We'll look at 3, and then we'll decide if there's something we want to
Okay.
change or add.
milkweed bugs.
And then investigation 2. Let's see, we are hitting on the power standard, and
Okay, this is identifying.
so just for investigation 2 though, we're hitting on the power standard, and it looks like LS21 investigation to determine the plants need sunlight and water to grow. When we
It's
did
talking
that.
about the insects. The insects' needs. So it's habitats and air, food, water, and appropriate space, and how they're different for different insects. The molting process. So the exoskeleton, and then this one is the bulk of the insect part because the factual information, the life cycle, the metamorphosis, and then the main body parts.
Okay,
So-
so I was just gonna stick those in. Hey, and investigation 1, where they are sketching and drawing models of their insects, aren't they?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll put that standard in there too.
But we haven't actually taught. Going back and looking at that, do we directly teach in that one?
No, I think-
head, thorax, and abdomen. It does say we do.
Yeah, I think you
Okay.
were gonna use your own stuff, but
Right.
it was covered in there. So it
Yeah.
looks like in investigation 1, we're covering the power standard, and we are using both power standards are for investigation 1. For investigation 2, it's the
We go
power
into
standard
Yeah.
and the supporting standard of
Right.
what plants need. So I'll put those on there. And I guess it's both. They're drawing models of their plants, so it's both power standards and one supporting
Right.
standard.
And the difference here is it's a different insect, so they want us to compare the life cycles of the insect.
Right. Okay. So I was just gonna put the standards in each investigation so you know which ones you're hitting on. Only thing we'll have to realize is with that supporting standard, it's saying plan and conduct an investigation. Where FOSS has laid it out, which that's what we're going to do due to time and stuff, but they're only conducting.
Right.
And when we read those standards, though, like if you're having conversations and the students are saying that their plant's not doing well, and you ask them what they could do, and they could say, well, if I added this much water every day, or if they verbally are planning as well, they don't
Right.
actually have to carry it out. It could be 2 different steps. So
True.
we've carried it out, and then you're planning what you would do differently. So that would be one way to meet the standard as well. But investigation 3, is that the route? What is investigation 3, I guess?
It's the 3-stage life cycle rather than the 4.
And we've already covered that,
Yes.
right? You're gonna mold it all into
Yeah.
lesson 1.
Pretty much. So basically, that's the difference between 1 and 3 is you have the.
Is there anything else? in
No,
here?
it's the eggs, habitats, the milk, the life cycle, and then an insect search. So it's basically exactly the same as lesson 1 content, but just with a different.
And you wanted to do the 3 and the 4 together so we can compare and contrast
Yes.
that too. So we'll just make one longer.
Yeah, I prefer that because when
Yep.
we look, I like instead of keeping the insects separate to do them all together.
Sure. So then if we look at this, so I will put that investigation 1 is FOSS 1 and 3.
Direct question right there.
Okay. So then, if we look at investigation 4,
It's different insects meet the needs in different ways. So again, this one is the same, except this is the silkworm, so the moths versus the beetles. So
Okay.
again, we're sort of doing 1,
3,
3, and 4 all together.
Okay.
But
So when we map that out, we'll just have to
Yes.
know that that's going to take most
how
of
does
the
the
time.
silkworm compare to the mealworm? Yep.
Okay, 1, 3,
What do
1,
they eat?
4.
The length of their metamorphosis.
So then,
Just make sure that we're, which we cover in habitat basically and life cycles.
when we learn about each insect, maybe having a reading and some other things on that insect about in Iowa.
That would be good.
Oh, I would say make a note that what we want to do is get some resources that we can build in about Iowa so that we can learn about, well, first of all, learn about each insect's habitat and then what kinds of those insects live here around Cedar Rapids.
Yes.
So that way we can make our best choice on which. And then they'd have to, research each of those. We're only talking about the life cycle, but then we have to get a little deeper in how they survive.
5, yes, and that
So
that's
maybe
part of it in, we did say the habitat, well that's, and their body parts help with the survival
for
as
investigation 2
well. No, it's pretty much
in 1.
1, because we're sort of breaking it into plants versus insects, rather insect versus insect versus insect.
Okay, we need
Plant.
it. I don't know that.
Yeah, they separate by insect.
So I'm going to put in here habitat so we don't forget. For each insect. Along with,
How different insects, well, it would be survive, because we're talking about, I try to cover all the different mouth parts, because that's one of their, and then
So habitat.
beetles are an excellent one, because there's so many different types of beetles, to talk about how different beetles defend themselves and protect themselves.
So a habitat for each insect we need to build in, how different insects survive, and types of each kind that are common in Cedar Rapids.
There you go.
So we had down, students will know the standard vocabulary. Our focus is structure and function, and then
Yeah, structure and function, that covers their body parts, their cycles,
and then that's how we can really get in that
their habitat.
cross-cutting concept.
Yes. Environment is dependent upon pollinators or insects to.
Well, the environment determines what insects live there, and the
Right,
insects determine what plants live there.
Yes, so
But vice versa, because the plants that are there have to.
attract, yeah.
So,
Well, we want them to understand that there is an interdependence between all things within a habitat.
I think also though too the many parts of that would be that we want them to know that there are insects with 4 stages and 3 stages of
Yes.
life cycles. Summative, formative, summative. So like one we know, and we'll probably think of them as you
Yeah.
actually get into it, but we were gonna do the compare and contrast.
Right.
Contrast a living life cycle or an insect life cycle to a plant.
And insects to insects.
Yep.
And then they're going to have to construct their own insects that includes all the components of an insect.
A created
Mm-hmm.
insect. And so this would be structure
Mm-hmm.
and explain how it'll help the insect
Yes.
function. So
How the environment affects or dictates the structures that an animal needs to survive. Is that making sense?
Yeah. Or dictate which ones can survive.
Yes.
Thinking back, kind of our standard is they're going to obtain and evaluate information about the habitats here,
Yes.
along with pollinators in
Yes.
the area. So obtain and evaluate resources or information on habitat and living things
Mm-hmm.
for this area.